Hello and welcome. This is IrishChevron here, and just giving a bit of an update on how we've been getting on. A bit of a status update or whatnot. Basically, we have most of the electronics together now. I did record everything I was doing, and it turned out my SD card was corrupt, so it couldn't. I couldn't use any of it. Here we have the PDB, the power distribution board, our XT60 connector, the cable for the FPV system, that's the 12 volt. I think that's what the camera takes, and then 5 volts to the flight controller. And then this is the signal and a ground to each of the electronic speed controllers, the ESCs, and to the motors. I don't have a battery yet, so I couldn't test everything out in the software, but what I did do for the time being is not advisable. Definitely not advisable. I'll just move this away. I didn't have a 4S battery, so this contraption I made, a couple of 1-cell batteries, daisy chained to make a 4-cell, and that was enough. They're only 600 milliamp hour batteries, so they were just enough to calibrate the ESCs and check motor rotation, but that was about it. One thing I did learn and didn't realise with this is the amount of software that I need to learn. Not only just Clean Flight or Beta Flight, but it's also BL Heli software suite for calibrating the speed, the ESCs, the electronic speed controllers. So I had to figure out where to get that software and then download it and use it. And one thing I found out about these particular ESCs, they are meant to be 20 amp speed controllers, but according to the BL Heli software, they are flashed with 30 amp software firmware. So I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make. Where it thinks it can take 30 amp, but it can only take 20, so it might blow sooner. I'm not sure. But I spent so much time, a ridiculous amount of time troubleshooting. And part of that troubleshooting was with my receiver, my radio receiver. I was setting everything up. That's why all the wires are cut and rejoined and that, because I was setting things up for the system, the PPM, and I couldn't get anything to work. Couldn't recognize it. The radio wouldn't connect. That's this FSI6. It wasn't showing in the software, and I was connecting it up to the computer, and I could not for love nor money figure it out until I realised that this FSIA6 is not PPM. It's not available. Can't do it. It's such a basic controller. I can't do PPM. I'm not 100% sure what PPM stands for at the minute, but it can only do the lower quality, well, the more complicated way, which is PWM, which is a single wire for each connector, where with PPM you just use one wire for all the connectors. So I've had 5 times the amount of work to do, 5 times the amount of troubleshooting. I had to figure out what each channel was going to do, whether it was for throttle, for yaw, and throttle, yaw, pitch and roll, but yet they call them something differently because they're based off the aircraft, which is aileron, throttle, rudder, and something. It's A or T. So aileron, rudder, throttle, and can't remember what your E is. Yeah, so that was ridiculously complicated trying to figure it all out because I hadn't a clue. That's why it was so complicated. But I figured it out. I got the four signals up to that, and sorry, I got I got the signals to the right ones, because to go into two sides here. One side takes half the signal, and the other side takes the other half the signal. So it takes two or three channels from each side. So I had to figure out which side was which. And like the gobshite that I am, before I realised that I had cut the top connector off, made it useless. So I had to use a smaller one that kind of fits and does the job in half and half. Not that you can see with it. So there you go, in like that, and give someone a signal. And yeah, that was absolutely annoying as hell. It was just so complicated, so awkward. And then I had to figure out the settings on the controller itself. Like, it's not just like turn it on and that's it. I had to try and bind it and figure out how to bind it to the receiver, and then make sure everything was working, and rearrange the software to the switches to find out what they'll do, and try and use for arming. And there was a lot more to it than I expected. But at the moment now, after all that, I am at a standstill, because I've no battery, I've no charger, and my jerry-rigged system doesn't provide enough power to actually test it properly. So I have to wait for a day or two till I get up to a local shop that actually has for sale batteries and chargers, and from there on we can check to see how close to actually being functional we are. I know this looks like a right mess at the minute with all the wires and connectors and that, but that's purely just to get it working. Once I have it working, then I can tidy it all up and neat it up and make it more neat. So that is where we are at the moment. So hopefully in the next day or two we will have our first 4-cell battery and charger, and we can start testing and doing proper configuration. So I hope you come back and check out how we do, and